Well, air cooler companies or air conditioner companies, essentially the cooling solution companies, have also done remarkably well. This is despite fundamentally facing the heat, reporting weak earnings for the last couple of quarters. Symphony in particular had to allay distributor concerns as well over unsold units after cutting down inventory, and imagine this was happening to the market leader. But after 2 consecutive summers of weak sales, can this season turn out to be different because of all that's happened in the last 3 months in the winters as well? Let's talk about this to the Chairman and Managing Director, Mr. Achal Bakeri. He joins us right now on the phone line. Mr. Bakeri, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in.
My pleasure.
I remember our conversations about a year ago, or maybe 9 months ago, wherein you had mentioned that if all that the cooling solution space needs is one good summer, from the looks of it, we may have a good summer. Are there early indications on the inventory cleanup or whatever distribution network conversations suggest that it could materially benefit cooling solution companies?
Well, there are a lot of predictions going around which predict a very good summer this year in 2019. So the temperatures, especially in North India, are expected to be much higher than normal, is what the predictions say or the meteorologists say. However, there has also been a sort of an extended winter. So temperatures even now, we are already in the first week of March and are somewhat lower than what they ought to be at this time of the year. So the sort of offtake that the secondary movement that normally happens, especially in North India by this time, hasn't quite set in. Though in parts of Western and Southern India, I would say that the secondary movement has begun. So, a little too early to sort of break out the bubbly, but things are looking good.
Okay, not breaking the bubbly for sure. We were speaking to one of the air conditioner companies, I think it was Onida, Mr. Bakeri, and they said that the retail sales may not have happened, but their primary numbers from the factory to the dealership have shown an uptick because dealers were apparently piling on some air conditioning stocks in anticipation of a hot summer. Have we seen this phenomenon in the air cooler space as well?
Yes, in the sense that, in the last current quarter and the previous 2 quarters, Symphony, has been selling despite a bad last summer and despite it being off season. So, we have been selling, which is all primarily going to prime the channel. Though, our sales in the last 3 quarters has been below par or below expectations, and there has been a negative, I would say, it has been a degrowth over the same periods of the previous year because of the channel inventory. So there is inventory in the channel which is sort of hampering growth of sales. But despite that, there is it's not high enough that there is no sales. There is significant sales despite all of that.
Okay, so Mr. Bakeri, therefore my question would be that how is the inventory situation looking like ahead of this season? Because again, I remember that the presence of inventory in higher numbers was probably one reason why sales for not just you, but of a bunch of other companies were not the best. Have the inventory levels gone down at the dealer levels, and therefore if primary demand were to come in, would it straight away result in sales for manufacturers?
No, I wouldn't say so, because the summers haven't set in yet. So, the inventory levels with the channel is still significant. So what is needed is, maybe 2-3 weeks of a good summer, which will consume all the channel inventory, and then will the round of, second round of sales happen. So at the moment, there is across the channel, there is significant inventory. So whether it is Symphony or, anyone else, till all that stock is cleared, there will not be a second round.
So would it be safe to assume or safe to predict, Mr. Bakeri, that for anybody trying to, in your words, break the bubbly too soon, it might be prudent to wait for the April, May, June performance of the summer and therefore of the buying behavior to emerge before taking a call there?
Absolutely. And this is what I have been saying for the last 9 months or so, And till the actual summer, which is the April to June quarter, pans out, it is, I would say, people should sort of, not be very sort of optimistic.
Okay, interesting. Now, just a couple of questions, Mr. Bakeri. The whole idea was to talk about what's happening in the space, but would just want to talk about Symphony individually as well, since the current Symphony is slightly different from the Symphony that we've known over the last 5-6 years or 7-8 years. In that the overseas business, which provides a cushion to the vagaries within the domestic weather sales, but at the same time, the return ratio is slightly lower. How is the export performance and the global performance for Symphony shaping up from the last time that we spoke until now?
Our international subsidiaries, are doing well. Our Mexico subsidiary is sort of turned around. Our China subsidiary has been turned around. Our Australia subsidiary is a recent acquisition. It's sort of the acquisition happened in July 2018. So it's still not the year. We still haven't completed a year post-acquisition. But all of those are doing fine. And also exports from India is also reasonable, not only to those countries, but to other countries. But what we are really counting on going forward is actually what, introduction of a range of commercial air coolers in India. In fact, we unveiled our first offerings a few days ago at a trade show in Delhi, and this is the first time that products of that category are made and sold in India. So this is, in one sense, I would say, a completely new direction in which Symphony has gone. And although this will be a sort of a dipstick study for Symphony, it will be more like a trial, field trials and marketing, trial marketing for the summer of 2019. But we have big plans for that segment going forward, and we have invested significant amounts in the tooling for these models, and so the commercial and the industrial segments are where we are looking at growing our business in the next few years. So that is really going to be, I would say, we've been calling ourselves Symphony version 3.0, and a significant part of Symphony version 3.0 is our industrial and commercial business. And towards that end, significant investments have been made in the past 1 year, and the products have begun to hit the market. And in the next 2-3 months, we will see significant activity in that. Although, like I said, immediately in the summer of 2019, it will not sort of move the needle in terms of the top line or the bottom line, because these are essentially, trials. But once things go right, we will sort of then go, with both guns blazing in the next summer onwards.
Well, we wish you all the best for that and more, and for a reasonably good period in this summer as well. Mr. Bakeri, thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.